Welcome back. My name is DJ Eitzen, co-founder and COO of Limitless Minds, and we have another fantastic guest today, Travis Thomas. Travis Thomas is an author. He's a speaker. He's a friend. Yeah, that's full transparency. And he also just has a tremendous impact on the people that he's coaching, that he's leading, that he's working with. He's a mental conditioning coach. He's working with the U.S. men's soccer team right now. And he's somebody that today, if you're listening and you're taking notes, you're going to see a tremendous amount of value that he brings. And so I'm excited to watch him and Trevor together as they go through this journey of, what does it take to have that yes and mentality in this very challenging time. So with that, Travis, Trevor, I'm going to hand it over to you.
DJ, thanks so much. We are here live, coming from Manhattan Beach, California, and we have the incredible opportunity to have Travis Thomas, who's really one of the leading educators across the country in a wide variety of areas, from peak performance, from really helping people understand how to put their best image forward. But not in the traditional media training or things from that perspective, but I think in giving you a skill set that's going to allow you to present through improvisational training and a lot of other modalities, that's going to allow you to bring your best nonverbal, paraverbal, extraverbal, all those elements, and really understand how to do those things. So it's not just get better at it, but there's a real skill set. Travis has worked many places. First of all, as an actor, and still is actively acting and involved in improv shows, and travels all around to do it. But he's also done a really good job. He spent years at IMG, the big sports agency, the big talent agency, the big academy. He's worked with the Chicago Cubs. He's worked with the University of Georgia football. He's worked with many individual and many of the top athletes. Right now, he's sort of the peak performance consultant for U.S. soccer, which will eventually at some point return to some level of play. So I saw him probably about 6 weeks ago out here when he was with the U.S. national team, and they were playing a series of friendly games, kind of getting ready for the MLS season at that time. Seems like a while ago. But Travis, Travis's company, Live Yes And, give us a little bit of, we have a broad audience that is in the business field largely, people that you've come and you've talked to and you've spent time with, trying to get better. And just so you know, we want to challenge you psychologically, so I made sure we got some lawn mowing going on. We got all sorts of different stuff happening today. But we wanted to be live from two coasts. We both wanted to be outside. So, but tell us a little bit about sort of your core philosophy, your core concepts, and how you can help people, no matter where they're at in their journey, get to the next level. And in this podcast series, find a way through.
Absolutely, Trevor, and I appreciate being here. Working with you for the last few years, and being able to be a part of the Limitless Minds team, and seeing how our philosophies and our modalities work with one another, and being able to share that at a time right now where so many people are experiencing similar ideas as far as how to deal with this adversity, how to deal with this uncertainty. My background was in sports, like a lot of ours are. I played college soccer. And then sort of, got into the business world, the corporate world, got married young. My wife and I, we moved to Boston. And then by happenstance, I went in and saw an improvisational comedy show and said, I need to know how they do that. And so I signed up and started taking classes, and it completely changed everything for me. How I viewed the world, how I viewed my marriage, how I viewed my corporate work, how I viewed the sports world. And not only did I go on to become a performer, which is what I still do today as a glorified hobby, but I've really sort of built my performance business and my performance coaching around these principles of improvisation, and working in the world of leadership and working in the world of mental skills. You talk about all these concepts and we talk about all these ideas, but coming from the world of performance and really improvisational, where you literally had to put these ideas into practice, because if you didn't, you were exposed, and it's very vulnerable and a very naked feeling on stage when you're not adhering to these principles, just like an athlete feels naked when they don't have those team tools and concepts in play, or being on a corporate team where you don't feel like you have the right mindset or the right team dynamics. It can be really exposing. And so I've really dedicated the last 15, 20 years of my life to take these principles of improvisation, yes and being the foundation of improvisation, and bringing them into these different worlds, from the corporate world to the individual mindset, and then obviously, like you said, in the sports world as well, working with lots of different sports teams. And like you said, most recently, I'm the leadership and team dynamics coach for the United States men's national soccer team. And again, all the years that you and I have known each other, and we've talked about neutral thinking and the similarity that I see with that, and yes and thinking, I think it's really powerful and relevant to what we're all going through right now.
Help me better understand the idea of this idea of yes and when we think of the idea of yes and versus what's the alternative to yes and help me have a better understanding of that.
Yeah, the alternative yes and would either be no, obviously, right? Just a straight no, or a yes but. A yes but would be a more subtler version of no. But when we talk about yes and, just to give the genesis of that a little bit, yes and is the basis of improvisation. I didn't create that. In fact, as I've tried to go back historically and see who is the first person to use that concept of yes and, no one has a firm idea, but it is generally accepted as the foundation of all improvisation. Now, improvisationally on stage as a performer, Trevor, that simply means on stage, if you and I are doing a scene with one another, and again, for those of you who aren't real familiar with improvisation is one or more people creating a story on the spot from nothing. Maybe a suggestion from the audience, maybe something, a headline in the newspaper, but you're creating a story collaboratively on the spot, no script. So how do you do that? Well, yes and is the basis that allows you to do that. So if you and I are telling a story with one another, and the lights come up, you and I look at each other, we have no idea what the other person's going to say. Whatever I say to you, let's say I say, oh my gosh, Trevor, it's so cold in here, right? You and I have this understanding that you're going to yes and my idea. And so the first thing you're going to say is yes. And yes, improvisationally, Trevor, means that's acceptance. You accept my idea or my offer as being truth, as being real. That's what's happening. Yes, it is cold in here. The and is where all the power is. The and is how you respond and build off of my idea. So if I say, Trevor, it's so cold in here, and you say, yes, it is cold. I can't believe we got locked in the freezer, right? So you took my idea, you accepted it, and then you built off of it with another idea that furthered our story. I can't believe we got locked in here. And then all I have to do is yes and your idea and go, yes, and no one's going to find us until Monday. So now you and I are operating from this mindset of no matter what you say, I'm going to yes and it. No matter what I say, you're going to yes and it. So we've got total trust in our relationship. There's trust, respect, value. I know that you've got my back. You know that I've got your back. And we're going to tell this thing collaboratively as a team. And so when you think about that mindset, and there's no reason for either one of us to say no because we're making it up on the spot. And so when you take that mindset of collaboration with what yes and is improvisationally, and you apply it to your personal life, your sports life, your corporate life, what we're really doing is we're creating a relationship, or we're creating a culture or a team where we are constantly looking at how we can build off of each other's ideas, respect each other's perspectives, and build off of them. Not necessarily that all ideas are good ideas, but we're staying open to being collaborative with people's ideas, compared to our default for a lot of us, myself included a lot, is our first instinct. We want to say no because we're uncomfortable. We want to say no because it's unfamiliar or scary, instead of being open to it. And then again, when you look at it from a greater perspective, kind of yes and 3.0, is the reason I called my organization Live Yes And I think this gets to our neutral thinking, Trevor, which is to live yes and means you have to say yes to whatever life is presenting to you, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a financial struggle, whether it's a relationship struggle, a health struggle. you kind of have to say yes to it. If that's what life has given you, you have to say yes and be in acceptance with it. The power, though, is in your and response, Trevor. When you say, and here's how I'm going to respond in a powerful and impactful way. So it's not about being positive. It's about being in collaboration with what is happening and then choosing, okay, how do I want to respond in a way that's going to feel productive and put me into a position to be successful?
And I think that is such a powerful approach, because it's, look, whether you acknowledge what's happening or not, you're still giving your response an opportunity to feel like, to some degree, it's in your control, it's in your family's control, and just more broadly on the skill set. What if I'm introverted and I've never really been good at leading, or now I all of a sudden have to lead these Zoom meetings, and I'm not comfortable, and I got all these faces looking at me on the bottom, or if I'm extroverted and I've never really been good at listening, and now I've got to listen in a way that I haven't listened before, because I don't believe extroverted makes you a bad listener, and introverted makes you a good one, but makes you a bad communicator. How are these actually skills, Travis, that people can employ and actually develop? Obviously, no one is going to Second City right now, or the Groundlings. A lot of people, some are, and many of their people aren't like Georgia Football or Limitless Minds, where we're able to hire you, bring you in to work with the top businesses and teach these skills. But how are they actually finite skills that can be developed, and we can become better in these areas, even if they're not our natural leaning?
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I have spoken a lot before that, my job is not to try to turn extroverts into introverts, nor am I trying to turn introverts into extroverts. I read this amazing called "It Takes What It Takes." You might know the author. And so if I look at it from the lens, it takes what it takes. If my job is to be impactful and effective as a leader, as a manager, as a CEO, as a parent, as a husband, as a soccer coach, if my job is to be effective and impactful, I need to look at the requirements and say, okay, what does it require to be impactful? Trevor, I was working with a major league manager not too long ago, and he said, Travis, he goes, I'm really good at talking to guys one-on-one. I'm not as comfortable talking to the team as a group. And I said, that's fine, right? So you're really good at talking one-on-one. Our goal is not to turn you into Tony Robbins and to be this big, charismatic extrovert, but we want to build the confidence, and so that when you are in front of a group of people as an introvert, you can be your authentic self, to be the best authentic version of yourself. So that might require working on a little bit of your public speaking and so developing that skill, but it's not about changing your personality. And to your point about how do we develop these skills, it's funny. I was not a good listener, Trevor, until I got into improvisation. In fact, my wife will tell you I was not a good listener the first couple of years I was in improvisation, because I was thinking too much instead of listening. When we're afraid and when we're unsure of ourselves in a situation, we tend to overthink instead of listening to what's going on. So improvisation taught me, from a performance standpoint, how to be present and how to stay in the moment, but then how to actively listen and really stay present and listen and be a good listener. But when I think about it, Trevor, I took a debate class in high school. I took a debate class in high school. If you go through my entire, youth education and then college education, that is the only class I took in my, 20 years of education that worked on my presentation skills, my verbal skills. I didn't take any classes that taught me how to be a better listener. I didn't talk to, and so these are skills, just like any skills, that need to be developed. How we present to people, how we listen to people, how we collaborate with people. But those aren't skills that we often get in our general schooling. And so unless we are being proactive in finding ways to develop those skills, and they're not natural to us, we need to find ways to work on them.
So let's do an activity right now. So why don't you pick one? I'll be that when you're with an athlete, you're with a team, you're with an organization, you're with one of the top biotech or I've got you out at Georgia or you're with the Cubs or let's do it right now so people get an understanding. Obviously, I think our point in this thing, first of all, you quoting me, right? It takes what it takes is simply the fact that look, a job takes what it takes. So you strip the judgment out of it, strip what you think you can or can't do, and supplement yourself in the areas where you need to be plussed up. And don't judge the fact that you're not educated on it in the past. That's over. What can you do now, which I love. Let's do an activity right now. Take us through one, and I'll try to do. Let's try to do some Zoom improv.
Sure, fantastic. Yeah, we'll do one that I do in most corporate settings or working with any team. You may have remembered it from the past, but this is an improv, basic. The fun thing about this is I've done this with groups and teams before. That they'll tell me afterwards, "Hey, I did that with my family at the dinner table tonight or on the road trip," and so this is something that anyone can do anytime. But this is called Story in One Word. Trevor, you and I are going to tell a story back and forth, one word at a time, and it doesn't have to be anything amazing, but we just only get one word back and forth, and we'll try to have a little bit of a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so, Trevor, we know that every story starts with "once upon a time," so we'll get past that, and I'll let you have the first word. So, once upon a time,
we
went
skating
because
the
mayor
of
Los Angeles
said
we
needed
to
be
charitable
and
these
skates
fit
only
when
we
buttered
the
socks
that
we
chose
from
a
rental
facility.
Suddenly
We
noticed
whales
jumping
near
the
ice.
we
Skated
at
the
whales
traversing
each
species
along
the manta rays.
scene.
Scene cut. Okay, so as we're going through that, and it's funny even that as I notice, after we finish an exercise like that, Travis, inevitably there's going to be people that have done things a certain way, they've been trained a certain way, and they might say, improvisational training or that type of I don't understand how it connects to my role as a district manager at a pharmaceutical company or a trader on Wall Street, or an athlete or anything from that perspective. And yet we've seen such great engagement at many of the top sport programs with the top coaches and obviously businesses. How does it all connect? And why is it so important for these skills that seem optional to many people to be plussed up and developed? And how does the exercise, particularly that you just did, help build skills?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you take the exercise that we just did, Trevor, right, and it was difficult, right? As you and I, we can't see each other as well as we would in person, and so we're communicating with each other in a way where it's a little bit more challenging online. But whenever we do this live, few people say, yeah, that was a really easy activity. Most people say, wow, that was really challenging. And when we talk about, well, what was it about it that was challenging? People will say, well, I couldn't think ahead because as soon as I thought ahead, my partner would say something that I wasn't expecting, and now the story's going in a different direction, or I didn't know what they were going to say, or and so that idea of uncertainty and not being able to control the narrative, especially when we're working with someone else, well, that exercise basically details every relationship that we have in our life. I've been married for almost 24 years now, and I have a perspective and my wife has a perspective. We look at and approach something from completely different perspectives a lot of the time. And we can all relate to that, whether we're in our workplace or on a sports team or just in our personal lives, where our ability to collaborate and deal with things as they are changing in the moment is what performance is all about. I don't care if you're a day trader or a head coach, or you're just trying to have a healthy marriage. You have to be able to understand and respect that you cannot control anything outside of how you're responding to that situation. And so it's not our ability to control a situation.
And Travis, let me jump in here.
Yeah.
That really connects well to, how these skills are obviously applying during the current, healthcare challenge that we're facing.
Yep.
Where there's so much, it requires so much psychological agility. I know just driving in Southern California this morning, there were more people out, but for the vast majority of everybody sheltering in place. And what does this mean? I was talking to one of the guys from ESPN this morning, one of the top commentators, and he was calling, hey, how are coaches adjusting? How are athletes? He was getting ready to broadcast the NFL draft, and we were talking about just the uncertainty around the college football season, and et cetera. Like how do the skills really apply to what's going on right now in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, again, you're saying it right. It's at the end of the day, each of us can control the controllables. And in that story, we can only control one word at a time. As soon as the narrative shifts, it's our ability to adjust, adapt, and be reactive to our new circumstances. So as a planet right now, we are all living in a new reality that none of us had expected or really know how to deal with. And so we're in this new situation. What can we actually control in all of this? Very little. We can control very little, but in that little bit that we can control has a huge impact on our health, our mental health, our well-being, and how we're going to come out on the other end, whatever that other end looks like, Trevor, because it's our ability to deal with what is, right? That's that neutral thinking. It's our ability to deal with, this is what we can work with right now. We have stay at home. We can't leave the house. I'm restricted and limited to certain requirements. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. So how do I work with and collaborate with my reality, with that yes and? How do I say yes and to my present circumstances and then be as impactful and as effective as possible? And I think the companies, the organizations, the teams, and the individuals who embrace this, and I really emphasize that word embrace, who embrace this are the ones who are going to come out on the other side healthier, grown more, and better prepared to be successful.
Right. And even if your best case scenario is, however long, we're going through this particular part, just based on the realities, your best case scenario right now is treading water, relative to other things. And I love that, the idea of, can you say, yes, and I love the idea of one word at a time, Trav, where you're saying like, I got a word, then all of a sudden it's going to go back. It's not like I get 50 words because I'm not in control of the narrative. I'm in control of sort of each day, and you've got these three states. What has happened. So what has happened is our experience of how we viewed the world for you and I, our 40 plus years, as now, and for some people in their 20s or 10s or 50s or 60s or, their mid 30s. But that was what happened. And that's how you viewed everything. Well, now we have what's happening, right? So as you said, the world, we woke up and over a period of weeks, you've got 90% of the world in some capacity functioning totally differently right now.
Yeah.
And then so you have what's next is what will happen, and so that remains an unknown, and just because what's happening has been really challenging, we don't know that what will happen is going to be uniquely terrifying. We also don't know that it's going to be great or look like our past. So
Right.
as we wrap this up, what's your best advice? If I'm a world-class performer and I'm wanting to get better, or if I'm in a situation where I'm struggling, or my job, I don't know, I have one through Q2, I don't know what will be my reality in Q3. What's your and then also for you as you've got 3 children, you've been married, and just as a parent and as somebody who's adjusting and living, and you and your family are great at adapting anyways. You guys are a super a great family in that, but there's some people that are like hyper regimented, that this has obviously been tough. I guess as we wrap this up, what's your best advice as people navigate this going forward, Travis?
Yeah, and again, I think what's really interesting and unique about this situation, Trevor, is that this isn't just you and I sitting on a stage and putting some nice ideas or some hyperbole, or here's some things that you and I firmly believe in, and we believe everyone should adapt. And it's not just us saying these are great ideas. Maybe sometime you'll have a chance to use them, right? You're living them right now. I'm living them right now. My entire professional career, is zero right now because I can't travel and I can't be in person with teams or companies. I'm grateful that my wife has some work coming in because she's a virtual worker. And so this is real, right? This uncertainty is real. I can feel it in a palpable, visceral way. And so this idea, right, when someone says you need to live one day at a time, right? We're told that growing up, one day at a time. But literally, hey, live one day at a time, right? What can you do today? What can I do today that's going to take care of myself? It's going to take care of my family and get us through the day. And then tomorrow, I'm going to have that same mindset. If I'm an athlete, what can I do today to get better today? And then tomorrow I'll answer that question. If I'm in the professional world, as a trader, as a high-level CEO, as anyone, what can I do today? And let's focus on that, right? I'm a big, firm believer, which is what's so beautiful about neutral thinking, is let's deal with what we're dealing with right now and not worry about 5 minutes from now or 5 months from now, nor do we need to reminisce about 5 months ago or 5 days from now. It's Kung Fu Panda, favorite quote, right? Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, today is a gift. That is why it is called the present. And that's what we are all being called to do right now as a planet, in each of our homes, in each of our professions, in every single thing that we're doing. And it can either be a scary thing, right? A threat, or a beautiful thing, an opportunity, a challenge. And how we frame and how we approach that and how we choose to respond to that neutrally, yes, and is going to determine how we come out on the other end. And, one of my favorite quotes, Trevor, is you cannot progress until you say yes. And so I just feel everyone, right, collectively, individually saying a big yes and to what we're dealing with and approaching this neutrally, and just dealing with what I can do right now and trusting that I'll be able to handle whatever comes next.
Yeah, and I think what a great way to end it. Basically, first of all, I'm with you. Obviously, for years, right? I'm on planes and traveling to teams, and I've never been home like 36 hours in a row. Which was, I think, a huge problem, in my marriage. But just from being gone, so now you're in a totally different situation, and it's really like the people that are like, well, what can I do? As if it's just stifling, and versus like, well, what can I do? And you're really talking about just live one day at a time, because we just don't know enough about tomorrow. And I think that's an incredible message. Travis, how can people learn more about because you have such a unique skill set. Where can people find out more? Obviously, people that work with us as a business and a company,
Sure.
are going to get you as a part of our overall architecture.
Yeah.
If they're with us for a period of time. But how could other people, other businesses, other individuals seek out more information on you, or get your books and some of the other things that you've released?
Sure, absolutely. So my website is liveyesand.com. That's the easiest way. So my book is called 3 Words for Getting Unstuck, Live Yes And, which is available on Amazon. And then I'm all over social media or LinkedIn or anything on social media at Live Yes And. And if you talk to my 18-year-old daughter, she will remind you that I am embarrassing myself daily on Instagram. So I encourage you guys to come and see how I embarrass myself daily. So I'm easy, Trevor, and I love connecting with people and helping however I can. I mean, that's what inspires me and fires me up. I know it does the same thing for you. So again, I'm honored to be a part of the Limitless Minds team, and just love the ability to hopefully help people grow and learn and live their authentic brilliance.
Yeah, well, I know speaking for myself and for Harrison and for DJ, who's obviously spent a lot of time with you. The skill set you bring, to me, it's the illusion of choice, for pretending that I can live my most effective life without these skills, no matter where I'm at, not just if I'm training for the draft or whatever the circumstance or situation, but it's pivotal that we get better at this, and the mindset and the mentality. So, thank you so much, Travis, for spending the time with us today, and liveyesand.com, and Travis Thomas, being able to go find him on your social media, as well as a great book that you can get online. DJ, we will turn it back over to you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Travis. Thank you, Trevor. I love watching you guys interact and engage. There was a lot of value you brought to the viewers today, and we appreciate you for that. We're going to stay here in the chat room for the next 10 minutes. And the goal of this is to answer any questions that you have. We take the information and some of the topics, and we use that to build out future webinars. Because again, for us, it's about impacting people, bringing value to the viewers. And we can only do that if we have, questions and real topics that you guys want to discuss. And we'll bring the best experts on. That's my promise to you. And so we thank you for spending some time with us. And hopefully we're helping you find the way through and win the way. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.